auto industry is consistently bringing new technology to consumers. What are the key initiatives for auto technology and what does the future hold? Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast Newsmakers. Joining me now is Matt Roush, the editor of the WWJ Technology Report. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
We hear all about this cool stuff, that infotainment, you're going to be able to have apps and this and that, and half of us don't know what anybody's talking about, and the rest of the half of the population is really excited.
Yes.
But what percentage of this stuff is actually going to happen? Are we actually going to see in our vehicles?
Well, there's software being designed now that'll help apps talk to the software that's in the car already securely. So, people have talked about the difficulty and the difference in product cycles between consumer electronics, like, say, cell phones, where you have a new product every 6 months, and cars where it takes, years to design a particular platform of a car, and how do you swap out the technology in the car every 6 months during its service life. That kind of thing is now being worked out, where there's software that helps these two sort of worlds of consumer electronics and cars talk to each other. The other thing that's really exciting on the horizon is the world of autonomous and connected vehicles. There's a federally funded experiment going on right now in Ann Arbor where you have connected vehicles rather. These vehicles have short distance radios in them. They talk to each other. And if one of them, say, hits a patch of ice, it will send out an alert saying, watch out, there's ice at this location. And the radios in other vehicles within 1,000 to 1,500 feet will be able to pick that up.
Now, that's what I mean by super cool, but will that actually be something that we could see in our vehicles in a year or 10 years?
I'd say closer to 5 years rather than 1 year. Something like this will be possible, and it'll go the way of most automotive technologies. It'll start out as something in luxury models and gradually work its way down into everyday vehicles, sort of like the way anti-lock brakes and traction control have. The other thing that's exciting is autonomous vehicles. Now, my colleague at WWJ, Jeff Gilbert, is somewhat less than enthusiastic about the whole idea that a car you can get into and say, I would like to read the newspaper, drive me to Cleveland. He doesn't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I'm thinking not too.
Well, because he's worried about the first time one of those vehicles gets in a crash and some plaintiff's lawyer gets a hold of it. And
it's GM's fault, it's not the driver's fault.
Exactly, and that'll be the end of autonomous vehicles. I think, and what he says, and I agree with him on this, that this stuff is initially going to make its appearance as a safety feature. Because I have driven new vehicles now that have what they call adaptive cruise control, which is if you come up too fast behind somebody while the car's in cruise control, it will automatically apply the brakes and keep a safe distance between you and the car ahead. Well, that's autonomous driving. You didn't hit the brakes, the car did. There's also lane departure warning systems that'll, if you change lanes without using your turn signal, it'll make the steering wheel shake just to get your attention, just to make sure you're not falling asleep at the wheel and drifting out of a lane.
That's what your spouse is for.
Oh,
hey,
okay.
Hit the turn signal.
Yeah, true. But it's only a relatively short step from that to the car not letting you wander off the road, which is what a car has to do if it's an autonomous vehicle. It has to be able to maintain its space in that lane. Now, whether all these things can work when it's foggy, when there's snow on the road, these are things that still have to be worked out. I mean, none of these systems is foolproof yet, and none of them certainly would be a good idea to let someone not pay attention behind the wheel at this point, even with these systems. But that's how they're going to initially be introduced, is as safety advances, and then gradually they'll get smarter and smarter and more advanced. And I think we will get to a point where we have a semi-autonomous or autonomous vehicle. Best guess now is maybe 2025, 2030, something like that.
That's not that far off. It's really not. All right, very exciting. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you.
Today's Comcast Newsmaker was Matt Roush, the editor of the WWJ Technology Report. And don't